Hello and welcome to episode 100 of Nolo Time. My name is Obed Velez, and with me is the most interesting man in the world, Joel Young.
What's good, no load time? Episode 100, Obed. Episode 100.
Really? We did it. We're alive.
We made it.
We made it, man. This is crazy. So when we started this thing, episode 100 felt like years, which technically it was. We're
Yes.
about 2 years and 2 months in to
Yep.
about 3 months doing the podcast. And yeah, man, I mean, we started this as a little, hobby idea thing. And hopefully we can take it further. We'll see. We'll see where this goes, man. But 100 episodes, dude.
Exactly. Just to make it to 100 just makes me feel so accomplished and makes me feel like there's so much more to come because, like you said, Obed, like, yes, it's been a couple years now, but I don't know about you, man, but to me, it doesn't feel like it's been this eternity to get here. It feels like it's just been such a lovely ride. It's a lovely go. And, no load time, still not loading. We just keep keeping them coming, keeping them
Yeah,
cranking out.
yeah, man. I'm hoping we can do two. We can do another 100.
I know. I'm with
Hopefully
you.
we can get picked up and we make it. Who
Yeah,
knows,
man.
man? I mean, we do this as a hobby, but we do it because we're passionate about what we talk in this show. And
Yes.
we're passionate about video games. We're passionate about nerdy stuff and Star Wars and Marvel and DC and all these things. And you know, I think Joel and I are the new Greg and Colin. I'm hoping that Joel doesn't stab me in the back.
No, that's not happening. We're not a little bit funny. We're I think our show
Uh,
is a lot more entertaining.
okay, okay. I mean, we're entertaining without being obnoxious. I think, which is
Yeah, I think that's
yeah,
true.
yeah. And again, if you guys didn't notice, this is like gonna be a very candid episode of
Yes.
No Load Time. So we're just gonna reminisce in the last 2 years and things that happened, things that got hyped, and things that were awesome, and also things that were duds and bad things and things that weren't so great. So, it's going to be a roller coaster of emotions here, just spanning the last 2 years and 2 months that we've been doing the podcast, which, I mean, we started as again talking in our workplace break room. It's like, hey, we should do a podcast. It's like, oh yeah,
Yep.
let's do this thing. I mean, and it evolved, and I can definitely see. I went back and listened to some of the first episodes that we did, and
Ooh.
crap, we were so stiff, and
Ooh.
I couldn't find my voice. It was just weird, but we made it. I mean, you got to start somewhere,
Exactly.
and I'm thankful for the experience that we've gained doing this thing, man. And I mean, I know that at the time we're still a very very small podcast, but I know that there's important people listening out there. I
That's
know that
right.
there's an audience, and I'm grateful that we've gotten some really good exposure. And again, the concept of the podcast was not going back to what I said, not being obnoxious and just sharing our passion with all of you guys. And again, thank you for your support. Um, as a thank you, Joel and I are doing the first ever no load time giveaway. So each of us are picking a game that is important to us, a game that's in our not necessarily in our previous episode 9 list of favorite games ever, but the games that are important to us and games that we believe everyone should experience. So on my end, Joel, you can actually enter to win a copy of the Metal Gear Solid 5 Complete Edition. So this includes Ground Zeroes, the Phantom Pain, and all of the DLC that was released for those two games. Also includes Metal Gear Online, which is still pretty active out there. Even if Metal Gear Online dies, I believe that the Phantom Pain is one of the best games ever. It's a master class of storytelling through gameplay, and I think everyone that has a passion for gaming should experience. So again, this is my game of choice. And Joel, go ahead and share yours, man.
Yeah, guys. For me, so basically, you get two different people can win. So someone wins one of Obed's games, and then the game that I'm going to be sending out to you guys, I'm going to send you guys out a copy of Assassin's Creed: The Ezio Trilogy. So basically, you're going to get a few games here. You're going to actually get Assassin's Creed 2. You're going to get Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and you're going to get Assassin's Creed Revelations. It also includes a copy of Assassin's Creed Lineage and Assassin's Creed there's the other one on there, Assassin's Creed Lineage, and there's another the other animated Assassin's Creed Embers that's also included on there. So you get those two films, and then of course the three full complete games. As I've talked to you before about it, my love for Assassin's Creed has always been a thing from the first game. You know, it's still one of my favorites, and throughout the rest of the series, ups and downs the series has had, but I've still kept playing them. And I think the Ezio Trilogy is some of the best games that you can get out of the Assassin's Creed franchise. So this collection is a great value. I can tell them a little bit about how they want to enter in for this. So essentially what we're going to ask you guys is that if you would send an email to noloadtime@gmail.com, you first of all have to be a subscriber to our show, right? You got to subscribe to our show. You got to send an email to noloadtime@gmail.com. In the title, type in No Load Time Giveaway. And then in that email you're going to send to us, we want you to put in there a reason why. First, we want you to tell us what one of your favorite games is and tell us why that's your favorite game. And then based upon the emails, the different entries that we get, we're going to then pick out a winner. We'll communicate with you, and you'll get mailed out this either the Ezio collection or Metal Gear. So that's not a bad deal right there, man.
Yeah, let us know which game you prefer, and we'll be picking this on the show coming in on August 22nd. So
Yes.
you got 2 weeks to enter, and send us an email and let us know. Again, what Joel said. What's your favorite game of all time and why? And we would love to share that with the audience if that's okay with you guys. But yeah, man, I'm excited because we're doing this thing. Again, we're doing it as a hobby, and we're doing it when we are doing this as a thank you to you guys. So, Joel, you want to talk about what's happened since we've been doing the show? I know that there's some news out there. Evo happened, right? Evo was a thing over the weekend.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
There's it was fantastic. It was probably the best Evo ever. And we'll probably talk about it a little bit more next week. I know that is a hot topic right now, but today is a special occasion. So if you guys want to hear fighting games, you're gonna have to wait until next week. Also, by the way, Joel, they just to plug it in, there is a just announced fighting game Street Fighter tournament on August 24th at Full Sail
That's awesome.
At the Full Sail esports arena. So
Fortress.
At the Fortress, yep. So if you guys are interested, I'm going to try and make it out. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it, but it's actually free for just to spectate. So it's free to everyone. It's only $10 to enter if you want. And there's 3 games. I know one of them is Street Fighter. I should enter.
Yeah, man, why not?
I should. Come on. I'm going to tell the wife, I'm playing on a video game tournament. Damn it. You're going to support me.
Hey, you know what? I don't know what if there's how big a prize is, I'm assuming, involved, but why not?
Probably. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Joel, some of the things that had happened since we started doing the podcast, and I think to me, let's start with the biggest one, man, because we've been going through when it was first announced up until next week when the Blu-ray releases, and that is that we had the 2 Avenger movies that came out 2018, 2019 respectively, Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. I always feel the need to call it Infinity War Part 2 because that's really what it is, but it's amazing, Joel, that I when I was in high school and I was really into Marvel comics, I would have never thought that an event like this could occur, and it made me like I'm getting goosebumps because it's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about it in the show and we talk about our reviews and whatnot, and we put our emotions out there, but going through now, like, you kids in high school right now are like, everyone loves Marvel, everyone loves video
It's
games.
normal.
Yeah, exactly, it's mainstream, everyone loves anime. So back when I was in high school, it was just the nerds, right? It's like, oh, it was me and a couple of friends that were into Marvel and games and anime and all this stuff. So it was really hard. It was like, oh, look at these nerds. It was not that I would say it wasn't acceptable, because that's not the right word, but it wasn't mainstream. It was very uncommon at the time. So some of the kids in school were into Michael Jordan and buying tennis shoes. I was into getting Marvel trading cards and buying Sega CD games. That was my thing. But yeah, Joe, it's talk about an event that just really took our love for the Marvel properties, our love for comic book superheroes into the stratosphere. And this is like, Marvel is no longer Marvel is no longer the a niche thing that some people like. Marvel is now the bar that movie experiences need to be. And and that, to me, Joe, is like, I would have never thought of this 2 years that we've had with these two Avenger movies. Not to mention, the other in betweens, the you know Black Panther and the Spider-Man movies that we got. And I wasn't a super big fan of Captain Marvel, but I appreciate definitely what they did. So, man, I am just speechless, because it just makes me so happy to know that something that I loved back when I was in high school, something that was a big part of me growing up back in the '90s, is now loved by everyone. And to me, Joel, that's very important.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Our last Avengers Endgame spoiler review episode is our biggest episode to date in the history of No Load Time. Um, when I look back, like you said, Obed, and think about, when I first had my first love for the Marvel properties as a young person, and reading and just loving and being fascinated with these different characters. I mean, we're talking Iron Man being a super C tier character, and his the events that transpire with this character over these years is now something people love. If you would have told me, Obed, years ago that this was going to happen, I would have thought it was a joke. And the reason being is it's not just because of it being um, good movies, because I didn't think of these. I always thought these could be good movies, right? The Avengers film. There's just fantastic stories, and there's still so much more to be told. But to tell me that not only are these movies going to be good movies, but they're going to have quality actors attached to them, like, it's not going to be a joke. Like, these are like Oscar award winning. I mean, very
Yeah.
well. Highly, attained, actors being associated with these films. Directors, the same thing. And then you tell me that these movies are going to be reviewed extremely well by critics. That these are so, like, the critics are going to think these are great movies. And then not only does that happen, Obed, these is after Endgame. Endgame is the number one highest grossing film of all time. So we're not just talking about, oh my goodness, we had this amazing event, and like, you would have told me as a nerd, like, no, these are going to be films now. These comic book characters, they're going to be respected. They're going to be having acclaim associated to them. They're going to be financial success around the world. And I mean, Black Panther, like you mentioned, that movie got nominated for Best Picture. I still can't believe that when I think about that. I never would have
Serious,
thought
man.
that these guys would have ever even just thought about a movie like that.
It's
So
serious.
it's there's a mold that's being broken, and the future is very bright. But living right now and having the podcast going on at the same time as these incredible events that's transpiring, it's such an awesome thing. We can live these things out together, and it's been such a great ride. And such an amazing time to be alive. I'm wearing my Infinity War shirt right now, actually. Right now. But yeah, man, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I mean, I remember again going back to when rumors of Spider-Man started running back in the 90s, back when Marvel was not doing so hot, and they were just giving away the rights basically. um I'm trying to remember the name of the magazine. Actually, I'm looking it up because I forgot the name of the magazine. But a friend of mine used to buy a lot of these like news magazines that came out for comic books back in the 90s. The magazines that would give you like pricing on trading cards and issues and all that, and also has nat news sections and articles. And man, I remember back then when they were saying like Sony was looking at Charlie Sheen to play Peter Parker back in the 90s. I was like, these like dumb things, right? That would have
Michael
never worked
Jackson.
now. But I'm sorry.
Michael Jackson wanted to be Spider-Man. Remember
It-
that?
yeah, he wanted. Yeah, I mean, he wanted to do Spider-Man and Superman. He wanted to
Yep.
do. He wanted to do everything. Michael Jackson was a character by itself.
But I mean, these things were talked about, were happening. But
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, but I remember all this. Wizard magazine. So
okay,
I
yes.
remembered. I remembered. Yep. So my friend used to buy these a lot, and we were just he would take it to school. We would see him in school, or when I would go to his house to hang out, and we just browsed through those. And he was also an illustrator, and he had murals in his room. It was like. So he was really talented illustrator, man, and he always wanted to get a job at comic books, and ended up joining the army, which by the way, he's moving to Orlando in a few
Oh,
months.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah. Uh, so yeah, I it's incredible, and what they did with Spider-Man in both back when the Raimi movies, and now of course with Homecoming and
Incredible.
from Home, what they're doing with Spidey and all these properties is just incredible, Joe. I am so happy and delighted that Marvel found its footing and are able to do what they're doing. So
Future's bright. X-Men are coming. Fantastic Four's coming. It's just gonna get better.
yeah, yeah. Joe, one thing that I want to talk about, it's something that's been very divisive, but we like it, and it's one of our favorite things, man. And during our run, we've had two Star Wars movies that we can talk about. So the first one, of course, being the Last Jedi, a very divisive movie, a movie that I like. This just to be clear, but again, one of those things that seeing Star Wars come back with the Force Awakens, and and just going into this thing, then giving us Rogue One, which ended up being one of my favorite Star Wars movies ever.
Yeah.
Um, and then going into the Last Jedi, it was such a hype thing, and but at the end of the day, it did leave me a little bit shook, man, because I mean, the Last Jedi happened, and very,
You
very
had to
divisive.
walk.
We talked. Sorry.
You had to walk. You said.
Oh yeah, I had to walk it off. That was that was intense. Like I didn't have to walk off Avengers, in Endgame. Which I know a lot of people had to, because I mean there's reactions out there of people just falling in the movie theater,
Yeah.
um, but the Force Awakens, not the Force Awakens, but Last Jedi was very divisive. I liked it. I know that I respect the director's creative vision on this movie, and I overall think this is a good movie. A bit long, in my opinion, but good. We got that, man. So
Yeah, that movie. I was a big fan of Force Awakens. I know people had issues with that movie, being a complete copy to some people, right? Of from the original trilogy. But when I look at Last Jedi, I think that's what that movie is, right? Like it was trying to be different than anything else that we'd seen before. And I think what really hurt it from a critical perspective is that people had so many expectations going into it it's almost like they thought they had the movie already figured out, and when it was
Yeah,
anything less or anything different than what they expected, therefore the movie was no good. And so people started making the arguments of, if you're a real Star Wars fan, you don't like The Last Jedi, and that's a form of elitism, right? Like I think you and I've talked about this before. Like as fans, we've got to be able to be constructive with one another. You're entitled to your opinion. If you don't like The Last
absolutely.
Jedi, you don't have to like the movie. But if you're gonna not like the movie, I think it's immature, and I think it's wrong as fans. We should not encourage a culture where we're saying you're not a real fan if you like this, because Obed, you and I will argue with people over this movie. We'll debate with people over this movie. I think this movie is a good movie. You and I remember, I think I saw it first, I think, and I told you, I was like, look, dude, I like the movie. And then I remember like talking to you, and I was like, waiting because I knew so many divisive stuff out there. I was like, I got to hear Obed's response. And we talked in person about it, and you said, dude, the movie's good. Like you were like you looked at me like I don't
It was
understand
good.
what the deal is.
Yeah,
And
again, it things is the great. I think that there's something really brilliant about The Last Jedi, and
yeah,
it is the way that it's able to toy with your emotions because it shatters expectations. Um, you're emotionally involved with these characters, and they do this very divisive and creative things at the same time, but it's able to stir something in you, and I think that's a very powerful thing. Again, one of the things that I've said multiple times during the show is the worst thing that could happen to something that you do creatively is for people to be indifferent towards it.
yeah,
And there was no one was indifferent towards this
they had
because people
feelings.
either loved it or hated it. There was like this fervor behind it, and it was fantastic to see. I mean, and it got pretty crazy with that that remake and the no women cut of The Last Jedi and all this stupid
Some
things.
wild
But
stuff.
man babies are gonna be man babies. We talked about them plenty on the show. We've had shows dedicated to the man babies, so uh, it's gonna be what's gonna be. You know what? Haters gonna hate. Whatever they say.
Absolutely.
But going to Solo, man, because Solo was um, I mean, I didn't watch it in the movie theater, and which I have technically seen every Star Wars movie in the movie theater. And
Wow.
I say technically because when the special editions came out in the '90s, I went to see them in the movie theater. I mean, I was too small when the New Hope and Empire came back. Return of Jedi, I think I went to see it at the movie theater, but I don't remember it. I was 3 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
So um, so I went in the '90s to watch the special editions, and of course I went to see the prequels and I went to see the other ones. But Solo, I did not go to the movie theater to see it, Joe. I did buy it on Blu-ray, of course. Um, I the first time I watched it, I was really meh. The second time I watched it, I kind of enjoyed it a little bit more, and I could see where they were going. Yes, the movie has some pacing issues. It's definitely not the best Star Wars movie, but it's competent. I mean, considering all the problems that the movie had when it was all the production problems and the directors getting fired technically, you know, and all this drama behind it, reshoots, rewrites, and all these things. All things considered, the movie is competent, and it's a fun time. So, um, uh, it was very surprising. The twist cameo thing at the end was really good.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was kind of dumb with why do you need to turn it on? You're on a hologram. You don't need to do these things, right?
For the
Uh,
sake of
for
certain
yeah,
things.
for steering up the fanboys, but
Yeah.
you know, um, but yeah, I mean, it was fine for what it was, Joe. I don't know what your thoughts are on it. I mean, if you want to add anything else to what
No,
we already said.
No, I mean, just briefly here. I mean, just saying that, like, look, I think the movie, like you said, is competent. I just think it lacks a little bit of the Star Wars magic that I feel when I watch Star Wars movies. There's a certain type of emotional or just like adventurous feelings that I get when I watch movies that have always just hooked me from the beginning. And I just I wasn't captured by the magic. They're doing the Kessel Run, which is something I would love to have seen on the big screen, and I didn't feel that into it. So I think The movie, it's a movie that I'll watch. It's the one Star Wars movie, Obed, that I don't own. I'm not saying I never will, but maybe I'll get it one of these days. I don't know, but yeah, I think that was the issue with it, right? Was the magic of Star Wars. But I'm not going to tell people not to watch it. I think it's fine, like you said, it's watchable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm excited for the Rise of Skywalker. I mean, based on
Oh yeah.
early impressions are that this movie is going to be mind blowing. So, I mean, we shall see. But yeah, I mean, Star Wars is again one of our favorite things that we like to talk about here in the show. It's one of the holy trinity of nerdom.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
it's up there. It's right now it's Marvel, Star Wars, and I don't know what else. Something else, something nerdy. Little the Lord of the Rings. I don't know. But Joe, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I mean, I would talk about a fan freaking tastic movie, man. That was so good. I, you know, teared up watching the movie. It is on a whole new level of storytelling. It is so good, so well done. um they reference the old Spider-Man, the Raimi movies,
Yep.
and they point at a potential future for the MCU as well. Um so i I absolutely love the movie. I mean, I saw it even after he won the Oscar. I saw it not too long ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I think. And I am in love with that movie. That movie is fantastic, man.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a really surprisingly great movie. Like I don't think anyone thought it was gonna be a bad movie. And I remember when it was initially announced, I was like, wait, Sony's making an animated Spider-Man movie in addition to because it was like right during the deal with the time when they made the deal with Disney,
No
right?
one believed in this movie. This movie is like everyone was like, "Oh, this movie is gonna be awful.
Yeah.
It's so neat." Yeah,
But because of being a Spider-Man fan, I think I was one of the few people who was like, well, it's an animated, at least it's separate, it's its own thing, could be
yeah,
good. Right? Watch the movie, like you said, same thing, emotions like you, just in love with it. I jumped right away on Facebook Live. If you're not following us at No Load Time on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you're missing out. Got to follow us. But jump on there quickly, just emotionally, just riveted by the movie. Got to see an early screening of it. And I've watched it a few times since then. I know at Comic Con, one of the one of the artists, this guy was talking about the movie. He's like, dude, there was a point where I was nearly watching it every single day. He was saying there are people there who love this movie, and it makes sense because it's one of those movies that we've not had an animated movie this special in a while. So it was just a really, really, really good time.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. It was great. Joel DC. We got a few things to talk about since we started the show. Of course, Wonder Woman was fantastic.
Yep.
It's a great movie. Definitely paid respect to the character. Well shot, well lit. This overall, this movie was really good. Again, we're going back into the DC has some serious problems with CG. And I think is that Marvel, because of their planning, and I would say 80% of their planning has worked very well. They're able to pull off the type of effects and CG that they can, but DC, on the other hand, they're trying to push these things. I mean, of course, we know that the next Wonder Woman got delayed until next year, but um, I think it was very, very well done. I don't, competence not the right word because competence is the right word for Solo. But this movie was good. You can tell that there's definitely passion behind it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and again, paying respect to the character was very important to me, and that was great. And leading up to Justice League, so
Yeah, looking at what happened with the Justice League movie, supposed to be a very huge event. I mean, the people, I don't think people realize that's the very first time we had ever seen a live action Justice League. These are the Olympic gods, if you would say, of the comic
the
world,
icons,
the
yeah.
icons. No matter what you say about Marvel and then their characters, and obviously right now they're really the hot thing. But for all these characters been around for the last 70 whatever years, like those have always been the characters. Flash, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman have always been the number one, most iconic. You could go across the seas, Asia, wherever it is, and people know who they are. So we expected a really great time. Personally, I think Justice League is not a bad movie, but it definitely suffered greatly due to behind the scenes issues that happened. It's unfortunate. I really wanted that movie to be a movie that I was in love with. Sometimes when I think about the movie, it's hard for me to think of yeah, the mustache. It's hard for me to think of like my favorite scene in that movie, and that's a problem, right? Like if I want to look back, but oh, that one scene though, I think actually Obed kind of like Batman versus Superman more,
I do
like the
too.
Ultimate Edition.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Controversial. Yeah, it's all unpopular opinion over here. I
Yep.
do. I do too. Yeah, I think the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman's better than Justice League.
I agree.
I mean, it's 3 hours long, but it's good,
It's
and
good.
it has its memorable sequences. Has
Absolutely.
that the sequence of Batman saving Martha, and the Martha scene is there
Way
is
better.
things that are really stand out, and some people found the Martha scene to be very silly. I found it to be a moment that humanized Superman in a very strong way, and also Batman as well. I mean, I think it was a very powerful scene. I mean, it played a little bit silly, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of power behind the moment. So, yeah, I agree with you on that one. And then we got Aquaman, and Aquaman was pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah, the problem with Aquaman though is that they needed it to be a great movie, and it's a good movie. So people like that movie more than they like Justice League. I feel similarly to that movie than I feel about Justice League. I think I like Aquaman a notch more, but it's not necessarily like my favorite DCEU movie for sure. Wonder Woman right now is that one. Man is Steel right there with it. But like Aquaman is a movie. If you heard my earlier reviews when we with the show, this last Christmas season, I told you guys like no, actually there's some good movies that came out. Like that was one of them that I actually enjoyed watching. But I'm not sure that it warrants them to make another Aquaman movie, and that's what they need, right? They need you to be like, I want more to the story, and I'm not so sure I'm sitting around going, I can't wait for Aquaman 2. So that's what I
Yeah,
mean by being a good movie, but not necessarily the great movie they needed.
yeah. Also, Joel, we saw the death of resurrection of Transformers
I know,
because we
dude.
had the
Dude,
last
dude,
night,
I love Bumblebee.
and then Bumblebee was so good.
Oh my goodness. I watched that on my flight to Comic Con, dude. It's a really good movie.
It's great, man. I really loved it. I really, really did. And yeah, I mean, talk about crazy stuff with movies. And of course, we got our negatives when it comes to Marvel. Um, Unfortunately, Netflix. We saw The Punisher come and go, and we saw the entire Marvel. Yeah, they got snapped out of existence,
Thanos.
out of the Netflix cinematic universe, which is unfortunate. And I'm hoping that again, Disney having this fantastic deal now with Hulu that they just announced this week for $13 a month. You get Disney Plus and Hulu. Um, you know, Hopefully, this characters can find their way into another property, and hopefully Marvel finds something for them to do. The actors were great. All of them were on point. Everything was good. I think again the weakest one being Iron Fist, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the first season, it was started really slow, but it was pretty enjoyable towards the end. I still haven't watched season two. I never saw Luke Cage. I never saw season 2 or 3 of Jessica Jones. So, it's one of those things. It's really hit and miss. Daredevil, I loved. I watched all of those and Defenders, but yeah, I mean, unfortunate that we lost that. But at the end of the day, I know that Marvel has bigger plans for all these properties. So we'll see what comes out of that.
That's right. Disney Plus stuff announced at Comic Con. A lot of good stuff starting next year with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So good future looking ahead.
Yeah. Joe, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we will be right back with you guys. And we're back. Joe, gaming. I mean, so many things came out since we started the show. I think that during the first 3 months, you guys were getting my Persona 5 updates. That was pretty good back then. Yeah. And get ready to do. I'm ready to do it again next year when Royal comes out. So So I'm pretty excited about that. But Joel, what are some of your favorite games that came out during the last 2 years?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think in most recent memory, I can say the one game that really had me pulled in, and I recommend to everyone. I don't care what kind of gaming style games you're into. You're a PS4 owner, you need to own Spider-Man PS4. That is a fantastic game. It has set the bar, I would say so, for superhero video games. Even so much so that now we've got a new game coming out. The new Avengers game comes out, and everyone's comparing it to. But is it as good as that Spider-Man PS4 game? Because it
Uh,
was just that well. One of
Everyone's
the
gonna
best
compare it to it.
sellers.
Yeah,
Yeah, one of the best sellers. They're attaching it to the PS4 bundles or during Christmas time for Black Friday. I mean, it is just a game that if you're a PS4 owner, you need to experience it. Do yourself a favor. It's that fantastic. And I was actually on the edge of buying that as one of the giveaways. Maybe we'll do that as a future giveaway. Who knows? But yeah, dude, I'm in love with that game. There's so many great surprises that I won't spoil. The mechanics are so good. Of course, everyone knows it for its beautiful graphics and the great again when you're swinging, right? Like it's very
the
natural.
swing game mechanics.
Yeah, swing mechanics. It's not like you're just kind of just going from side to side. You can go any direction and fall and go any angle you want to hit at that you want. It's very natural. Dude, that Spider-Man PS4 game, I could go on and on and on about how good it is.
That's awesome, man. I am looking forward to play it. I haven't gonna. I think I'm just gonna go to Best Buy over the weekend because it's on sale. If I don't
Oh
find it
yeah,
on Best Buy, I'll probably just buy it online and get the free because I got that Best Buy free shipping with the Elite stuff.
oh
So,
yeah.
I'll probably just take the hit and get it because I heard so many great things about it. Um, and I really want to play it. So I'm probably just gonna take the leap, as
For
Spidey would say, or take the swing. Take a swing at it.
Excelsior.
Excelsior. Joe, Near Automata. I mean, it's one of the games that I played during the last few years. It came out a couple months before we started actually recording the podcast, but I put it on the back burner because I wanted to do Persona first. And um, talk about getting shook to your core. That game is fantastic. That game is an absolute masterpiece. It became one of my favorite games ever. Castlevania Symphony of the Night unfortunately got bumped out of the number 10 spot because that's in. Um, it's just a I it just takes storytelling, Joel, and because of the nature of gaming and it being interactive, it's like it is just such a profound experience, man. Because it's a at the end of the day, this is not just a video game. It is a philosophical analysis on what it is to be a human, um, disguised as an action game, and it is just mind blowing and beautiful. The set pieces, character design, of course, being now iconic, and that music just it's absolute. That it's probably the best soundtrack of any game ever, in my opinion. Right now, Final Fantasy 15 is close because the music in Final Fantasy 15 and is just exquisite. So, um, but Nier is just sublime, and the way that the music interacts with the game. The unexpected twist at the end, where you know the true hero of the story is revealed, basically, um, and man, again, goosebumps. It's crazy. Yeah, I was actually gonna pick that as my game of choice to give out,
Wow.
but it's not. I think it's not. You have to be of a certain mental state to really appreciate that game, because it is very profound, and it's I highly recommend it to anyone that is interested in playing a single player narrative, the game it tricks you because the game has supposedly has multiple playthroughs to for you to get the true ending, and that is not true because you played the first time and then you played the second time but from a different perspective, because the other character that's with you hears things that you cannot hear and things that you cannot see. So it just expands the story. And then the third and the fourth part of the game are completely different. So um, I highly recommend it. Again, if you're looking for a deep, storytelling experience, absolutely near. Dude, God of War. Talk
I need
about
to
a
get that.
yeah, talk about a friggin' fantastic game. It's on sale right now, I think, at Best Buy. It's pretty cheap.
Okay.
Yeah. What that game's fantastic. And I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm not gonna talk about anything on this game, but just you play it. It's just you play it. It's like you play it. That's the thing on this
Just do
one.
it.
Yeah. And again, I didn't spoil anything on Nier, but um, yeah, God of War is the same thing. Action packed, and the story is really good. Even what's crazy is what's really impressive on God of War is that how they are able to tell how such a deep story with so few characters, because there's not a lot of characters in that game. There's only very few people that show up and expand the story. So and so it was really well done because it's at the end of the day, I heard that at the end of the day, the budget for this game wasn't that high. It wasn't like a crazy Hideo Kojima Metal Gear $80 million thing, but but it was really well done, and just the graphics, music's great. Graphically, it's probably one of the better looking games out there. Although I think that right now, for the money, Horizon Zero Dawn is the best looking game ever. So, but God of War is close. It's close.
Wow.
It looks really good, and also deep story and very touching, very moving. So, very good new twist on Kratos. So.
Very good. Yeah, you've talked to me about it, and so much so I was already very interested in the game. But after hearing all the great things you had to say, and even you're saying right now, it's definitely something that I need to make sure that I get to experience. And you and I have talked about before. Like, I mean, at least speaking for myself, like I was not a God of War guy before this.
No, me neither.
Like I was not somebody into that, but how well they've marketed the game, and then hearing the positive reviews even more so just makes you say, okay, this is something I need to experience.
No, absolutely, absolutely. It is fantastic. Yeah. The Joe, what do you think of the stream that we did back last year for E3 for the PlayStation event?
Man, that was such a great time. I felt sad that Sony wasn't there this last year for the just for the sake of us two hanging out and doing a nice fun recording like we did for that episode. But man, it was such a fun episode because you got such raw, candid reactions from us. It was a very unique show, dude. Like it was
It was a
not
weird show.
yeah, it was not your cousin's E3, man. It was
No,
not
not
something
at
that
all.
you're used to watching. It was very different. We're like, wait, I remember us as we're watching, you could watch it back and see our reactions. We're like, wait, are they changing rooms? Like they're walking into the next place because they started in like a church, and then next thing you know, they're in some like big plaza. But it was so cool that it was different, I think. And then I love,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, your reaction to something that was announced, where you actually started literally
For
hitting at
RE2, yeah.
it was one of the best reactions,
The,
dude.
the RE2 remake, which by the way, I started playing this past weekend, and phenomenal, phenomenal. Joe, the Capcom's freaking killing it.
Wow.
That game is really good. I only got to play one day because the next day I started playing it, and my daughter started complaining that it was too scary.
Okay.
Because it's scary. I jumped,
Yeah.
dude. I jumped like 3 times, like actual, like crap. It's like yeah, it was good. It was good, especially playing it with headphones because you get the immersion, and it does support spatial sound. So as long as you have stereo headphones plugged in, it just sounds really good. So yeah, I started it. It looks good even on the standard PS4. I mean, it's a little bit choppy in places, but it looks really good. So yeah, man.
That's
Between
awesome.
that, Devil May Cry 5, Monster Hunter, the ongoing support with Street Fighter 5, um, Capcom is. I think they're back on track and in a very good way, and I think they're leading the march. In when it comes to Japanese games at the time, it's back to being the old Capcom, and they got the old producers back, and all these guys working on new projects. I am really excited to see what the future holds for Capcom, and just going back to other things, and I mentioned it on the podcast since the beginning that I was a Sega kid, and Sega is doing really well with their support for other platforms, and of course the Yakuza games, which you know rumor is that Sega makes those games because there's a connection between Japanese mafia and Sega, and but at the end of the day, it's video games, whatever. But and then Sega actually acquiring Atlas, and now be owning Persona and all these other properties, and Shin Megami Tensei and all this stuff. So they're doing really well. Fortunately, though, for Konami, they keep they're like non-existent. Although, I mean, they are putting out some stuff. They put that Castlevania collection for PS4. They put out the anniversary collection for all platforms. They're putting out a Contra collection. They're releasing a TurboGrafx Mini. So it looks like they're trying to gain a little bit of good faith with gamers. We'll see how that works. Rumor is that they're working on a new Metal Gear game, like a legit Metal Gear game. Not Survive and all this garbage that they did. They're actually going to do something new. All there's rumors that Blue Point is doing a PS4 exclusive game, which is rumored to be a Metal Gear remake of sorts. It could be, remake of 4, which is still on the PS3. Is the only way you can play that game is if you have a PS3 and if you own, the game disc. Oh, I think it's available for download. But yeah, it's unfortunate that the game's still trapped on the PS3. Joel, I don't know if you've had a chance to turn on your PS3 recently, but oh boy, that UI, it's whew.
And I used to think that was the thing, dude.
Me too.
I've talked about before PS3. Like I loved, and I really love my PS4, but PS3, there was something about when that thing came out. I was like, it does everything, you know.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that UI has not aged well.
No, and it's slow. And, the downloads are awful, and the way it applies to patches. Oh, it's just no.
If a friend came over and wanted to play with me, we would like literally we would buy a game, run, and just run in. Just one of us would just run in, get that thing booting up, and then we could just hang out and play. Like after a couple hours of the thing downloading, it's
It's
not
rough.
very convenient. And that was one of the big selling points for PS4, right? It was like
Yeah.
to pop that disc in and go for it.
Yeah, talk about I think we're getting spoiled because of the Switch, man. Because the Switch, the load times on the Switch are really good. Yeah, like almost
Not exactly no load time, but
yeah, like Mario Kart is really fast, and even Mario Odyssey for the amount of for the size of the worlds is really quick. Zelda takes a little bit, understandable, but for the most part, I think the load times on the Switch are just phenomenal. So I'm hoping to see something like that on PS5, Joe. I mean, we've done
no.
a couple of episodes dedicated to rumors and specs and all this stuff for PS5. So, yeah, man. What do you think? What do you think, man? Are we still shooting for fall 2020?
I think so. I was telling you, Obed, like I'm just waiting for the news to break while we're recording. Like, check your phone now.
I'm gonna do a scrum now.
Dude, like, because let me tell you something. That's just if that would have happened, that would have hijacked episode 100. I mean, it's just that big of a deal. But PS5 is definitely something that we'll get very near. I think by the end of next year we'll have it. If not before then. But I do think the end of 2020 it makes sense. Fall. So yeah, Obed, probably we'll get an announcement of saying, hey, we're working on this thing at the end of this year, early next year. And then we'll see some more come out probably at E3.
Yeah, I think we'll see stuff before
Yeah.
E3. I think we'll see something I believe that Sony has an event planned sometime this year. Maybe we'll see something there, a tease of sorts. There's enough stuff coming out for PS4 still. We got this trending coming out in November. The rumor is that The Last of Us is going to come out in February next year. Ghost of Tsushima, now it's rumored to be a cross-gen game, which
Oh, nice.
come out on both platforms. So I mean, PS4 still has some stuff coming out. There's things like Medieval and all these other stuff that are coming out on PS4. Uh, of course, phenomenal third party support. So there's plenty, right, to keep you entertained for another year or so. But when this thing drops, it's gonna be a big deal. Again, I'm still on the fence. I need to see it. If it's priced right, there's not gonna be going around it, and I'm gonna pre-order it. But I'm still very skeptical of buying consoles on first release because of technical issues. So I may just wait like 6 months or something like that and then get it. So, but we'll see, man. I mean, we've gotten plenty of rumors that we talked about on the show, and it's been one of our favorite things to talk. And moving out on more PlayStation stuff. Of course, the success of the PS4 hitting 100 million, and we've seen game after game after game. It's been so good, man. So Crackdown 3 came out. I don't know.
I don't know anyone who played it. I know
Yeah,
Xbox owners. I don't know anybody's played it.
it's out there, I guess. So yeah. Um, but we get to Microsoft and see that it's been all over the place, unfortunately, and hopefully they can bring it back together. I think they're doing a really good job with how they're trying to market Scarlet, and they have an ace under their sleeve. They're gonna pull something off. So I'm not too worried about Microsoft right now,
Yeah.
and of course Nintendo is just killing it, man. Just being breaking records with the Switch sales and dominating Japan basically, and all these great Switch games that have come out since we started recording.
Yeah, I got my Switch first. You got your Switch then, dude. Like we're in love with these things. It's a great console.
Fantastic, yeah.
Sales have been great. I'm a fan of what they're doing now with this new light version. I think they've really put out something really solid. And the thing before then is kind of just that, a thing of the past. Nobody remembers the Wii U, and that's okay. But they've shown how to take a step massively in the right direction, how to rearrange yourself, kind of come together, pull things together, analyze, understand where they made their mistakes, understand what people love, understand their successes, and then just make the right decisions based on that and the people are following. So that's what's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Joe, and then we got the Duds, man. I mean, EA and they're constant, what are you doing and why it's being so out of touch with everything they do. And the Battlefront 2 thing that we talked for like episodes, man. We talked for episodes about Battlefront 2. I think we talked about like 6 episodes straight about this whole Battlefront thing because I played it on Sunday. That's all I played on Sunday for like 4 hours. Battlefront. It's good. It's a great game. It's unfortunate that it got just burned by all this bad press that was completely unnecessary. I mean, you'd see if you play the game, you'd see where some of the criticism could have been. Of course, the game is a totally different experience now than what it was at launch. But even if it was sort of the single player experience, which was competent, so it was solo.
Yeah, you and I have Star Wars Battlefront 1, the very first one that they did on PS4. And we liked it, but the issue with that game was that it was only online, didn't have a campaign. So this was supposed to be the one to make us excited. I was at Star Wars Celebration Orlando when Battlefront
Yeah.
2 officially announced. And from the announcement, the stuff that they showed, oh my goodness, you're going to be able to play as these, prequel characters, and you're going to be able to do this, and the story is going to be about this character, and you're going to really be fascinated because we grabbed stuff from this lady's books, and we did this, and it was a great show that they put on for everybody, and you're around all the most passionate fans about this thing, and you and I both said that, like, look, when the game came out and we actually got our hands on it, we liked the game. It had to do with the business, right? Like, this is a game that suffered because of some issues with the business, understanding the way EA had their loot boxes and the issues that was going on with that, and their or surprise mechanics, right? As we talked about in other episodes. EA
Yeah.
episodes were some of our top rated episodes. So from behind the scenes, Obed and I would talk about this all the time because we were trying to figure this thing out. And then we'd come on the podcast and we would see another headline drop and we'd talk about it again because there was a new development with something that was said or retracting. This game still suffers with it today. I mentioned the game to people. People are like, oh, isn't that the game that had? So it's really unfortunate that the negative PR is always associated with it, because if, like how I was just talking about Spider-Man PS4 and you were talking about Nier, talking about different games, this would have been one of the games I would have mentioned if you'd have said, hey, what was another game? I would have said, yeah, Battlefront 2 was one of the games that I really enjoyed, that I still enjoy. I still go back and play it quite frequently, but it's one of the most intriguing game, one of the most curious games because of the negativity associated with it, right? Like, I think the game's a good game, but because with the negativity associated with it, people might give me a second look, like, what do you mean it's actually a good game?
Yeah, and then EA going into canceling the other game that they were working on, the
Yeah.
adventure, single player focused adventure game that they were working on. So that got canceled, and that got moved around a lot, and there's two games that got canceled actually. So and now Fallen Order comes out pretty soon actually, and we'll see how that works out. It looks good. So
Mm.
it's not built on Frostbite, so that's great. So yeah, I think that Fallen Order looks pretty good. I need to see a little bit more of that game. I'm not gonna pre-order yet. I'm probably gonna wait and hold up for reviews. I think that's one of those games that you can find for a pretty good deal during Black Friday, so I may just hold off on that. But yeah, man, EA
I
is.
think I'm gonna get it.
You think you're gonna get it?
I'm gonna get it first. I was talking to someone about it recently the other day. Watched a trailer with them. We were talking at our own time, and I think I'm gonna get the game because it does give me a little bit of the Force Unleashed feels, and that would be one of my
Yeah,
honorable mentions of one of those games that I really enjoyed. One of the best Star Wars video games I've played. So we'll see.
yeah. We'll see. But going into some of the negatives, fortunately, of course, we lost Stanley and his wife Joan.
I know.
This it's a loss that cannot be understated how much of a big deal Stanley is. There could be stories, there could be all these things, right? But front and center, he was out there putting these characters out, and again, I'm not saying that he did it by himself. Jack Kirby did a lot of work as well. He deserves the same attention and respect that Stan Lee. Jack passed away quite a few years ago, but Stan the man, we lost the dude, and we got to see him one last time in Endgame. So
Yeah, I feel like I lost my grandpa when I think about it. He feels like a family member. Like, he feels like the guy that the matriarch, the guy that started it all. Yes, like you said, there are other people absolutely that we want to make sure we give credit to. The crazy thing about his pass is that we had Steve Ditko pass just shortly before as well. And that was, I remember watching Spider-Man Homecoming and loving that they paid homage to the Steve Ditko art of who does he see in his reflection. Like, that's one of my favorite scenes in that movie. Probably is my favorite scene in that movie. And Spider-Man's my favorite Marvel character. You guys see it behind me. I've got a big Spider-Man poster behind me. I've owned plenty of Spider-Man comics. Spider-Man is my favorite comic book character. And it's good to see that now, and from a cinematic standpoint, he's really getting more and more recognized. But Stan Lee's never quit, never end attitude. There's so many great videos out there you could hear of his motivational talk about how he had to really push through a lot of really hard negativity. So when you see a guy like that pass, you want to just take the cap off, tilt it at the guy, and just say thanks for all you did for us, because all these great records and things. I'm glad he got to live through a lot of it. I'm glad he got to feel a lot of the fan love being at Comic Cons and things. And
Absolutely.
he leaves a legacy. Like, he's one of those people we'll still talk about like 20, 30, 40 years from now. There are certain people that are famous that you
We
won't talk about. He's like Walt Disney now.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like I was gonna say, we talk about Walt Disney, and he passed away 50 years ago. So,
right.
you know, um, yeah, absolutely he will be missed. But it's one of those people that left an impact on this planet, basically, and will be remembered. I mean, the guy's a legend, and I know that future generations will talk about Stanley, and we'll see his cameos, and we'll know that's the guy that brought everything together. As you know, when I was a kid, I used to watch on reruns the black and white, the World of Disney, or the Wonderful World
Oh,
of
nice.
Color, or whatever it was called, dubbed in Spanish. It was still playing when I was a little kid. And I knew that Walt was gone, but I got to see him through that show, and learn about how he did, the work with the movies, and how he come up with ideas for the parks and all this stuff. So yeah, Stan will be missed for sure. I'm sure that that we will remember him as a pioneer, and like what you say, he's the godfather of all this
Yeah.
nerd revolution that's going on right now, because we're mainstream now. We're no longer the butt of the joke, Joel.
Now people
We're
come to us asking us questions.
absolutely, yeah. So now we got the money, right?
True.
So now we got the money. Um, but yeah, Joel. I mean, we can keep going and talk about stuff for hours, but yeah. Again, I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying this show, which has been a little bit different. We are still making adjustments and changes here and there. We're hoping to have everything under control here in a couple of weeks, but we're learning new tech. We're trying to get the YouTube back up and running, and still maintain acceptable audio quality for the audio only version. Also, want to throw it out there, if you're watching on YouTube, because of copyright reasons, I don't post any music on our YouTube videos. But if you listen to our podcast version, there's always a song of the show. This week, I'm gonna go to our first song of the show.
Yep.
If you don't want to, if you want to check that out. And we went through, a couple of different intros, trying to find our intro, and all these things. I may throw one of the classic no load time intros for today's show, just to mess around with people. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, wait, is this the same thing that I listened to? So, we just wanna go ahead and
100 episodes later.
yeah, exactly. And man, Joel, and I hope, again, I hope that we can get to 100 more. Hoping that our listener base keeps growing. Our YouTube channel is secondary for us. So you guys, like what Joel said at the beginning, check us out on all, all the podcast platforms, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. Leave us a review. Send us an email this week and next week, so you can score a free game, guys. Seriously. But do you just, if you're new to the show, if you're listening for the first time, we do try to post on Thursdays as much as we can. I know that our line of work sometimes does not allow to post on Thursdays. Sometimes it may go on Wednesday. Sometimes it may go on Friday. But for now on, we used to do our YouTube uh, live in the past. Um, Now video versions are probably not gonna get posted until like Saturday, but it'll still be out there.
Absolutely.
Again, our main is to keep the podcast rolling. We're hoping to come up with an idea soon, Joe. Maybe Patreon, maybe do something so we can, you know, maybe maybe pay the bills, right? Because this thing ain't free, and we're doing it for the love of the art.
That's right, and also add more content. We've got some ideas out there about how we will do things, so we want you guys to stay on the ride with us.
Absolutely, Joe. Go ahead and again plug the social medias, the Insta snaps and the Snapgrams or whatever people hack these days.
Obed always aging himself. Well, guys, we thank you so much for taking time out of your day once again to listen to us here on No Load Time, episode 100. It's been a great one, and we look forward to so much more. So stay with us, stay connected with us, and go ahead and follow us at No Load Time. That's at No Load Time on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Like I mentioned before in the show, if you're not following us on those social platforms, you're missing out on some really cool content. We're not just posting our episodes. Every now and then we'll put a fun tweet out about some news that's happening at the time, responses to it. I went out to Comic-Con, had some great coverage of stuff on there. You could be in the moment. Go ahead and follow us on our social media as well so you can see the latest happening there. Just a reminder, and we mentioned a couple times during the show, but make sure you're subscribed. Like we said, podcast is where it's at. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast version on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Spotify, which is really cool because I know a lot of people want us on Spotify. We're on there.
Yep.
Also want to tell people to still subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's plenty of times where if you want to go back and be like, oh, man, I wonder what the responses were when I was listening. When we do have the video versions on there, it's always cool. And maybe you'll see what's the faces behind the voice. So
Joe's still single, ladies.
oh, Ben, with the plugs. Well, guys, thank you so much again, though. Stay with us. Send the email to noloadtime@gmail.com. We want to see your responses so that way you can win a copy of Metal Gear or a copy of Assassin's Creed, the Ezio collection. There's so much great stuff out there. Obed, it has been a great time, man. I look forward to our future episodes together.
Absolutely, man. And again, thank you guys. We'll see you again next time.